My friends, what is this? It is May 9th and we have snow. That's just not fair. Yeah, so here we are, May 9th. It's snowing. It's cold. But again, just finished up the insulation yesterday, so maybe it's a way to test insulation. So right now on the bus it is 37 degrees. And I'm going to fire up my little heater and see how long it takes things to get up to warmer than that, and then shut off the heater and see how it lasts maybe. So that's probably, really kind of what I'm going to do today is I need to start designing the 3 sort of closets over here. So I got a propane refrigerator that's going to go right about here, and again, so I don't have to constantly bend over. I'm just going to put it up like this. So I have to build a cabinet, I think, up to the ceiling. There's a vent that I have to cut through the roof eventually, and an access point in the back that I have to cut through, and then I think underneath are going to be 2 different shelves. Right to the right of that is going to be a pull-out pantry, so I have to design that. And then I have a propane heater that I repurposed from the camper. You might have seen that video, and that's going to go this wall here. So I want to sort of figure out how we're going to design and build all that. With the heat blasting, and we are 60 degrees on the wall. That was 59. Ceiling 78. Floor's 54. Chilly down there. Back there it's still 44, so might need some fans to move heat down through there. No condensation on the ceiling. Obviously we got some on the windows, but I think it'll be, we're going to put that garage wall, and I imagine that will help sort of warm up the bedroom, but comfortable. Alright, I think that'll work. I'll get the refrigerator set basically right here, and then I'll put more of these dividers here I can attach the drawer slides to, and then we'll sheath the outside. And I haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to attach this to the sink, because I got the furring strips over there. Maybe I just won't need to actually put a top piece there and just go to the floor. Alright, that'll work. Here's the frame. So I'm going to put a platform here, plywood for the to sit on, and it'll be all right. Perfect. I find that crawling inside cabinets and putting drawer slides on is kind of a real pain, and putting them on horizontally while they're sitting at the shop table is a whole lot easier. So I put the whole drawer slides on now, and then I just take the slides off and mount them on the drawers later on. And gravity can be my friend rather than my enemy. Because trick always is to make sure you put these screws somewhere where you don't forget where they are. Help with some energy efficiency, I put a piece of insulation, rigid foam there, actually the polyiso they're using the walls, and I think I'll do the same thing as I build around just to try to save some propane. Okay, so moving on to the second cabinet. This is going to be the pantry. And I thought about framing it in 2x2s, but then you're like 1.5 inches, you know, times 2 on both sides. You're cutting 3 inches out of your space, and also I think, you know, we'll be able to see kind of inside it. So kind of want a little bit more of a wood finish, although I'm not going to get, doesn't have to be too fancy. So I thought I'd go with plywood. For this, basically for those two reasons. It will be, it's 3/4 inch instead of 1.5 inches, and it's sort of a semi-finished look. So I've my ceiling scribe, and you know, we did this technique in the video where we did the ceiling furring strip, so you can check that out if you want. I just kind of saved one of the templates I had from this, and what else I do for this? I think with the closet for the electrical. So I traced that line onto this plywood. Again, doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be buried in behind there anyway. I just need it to fit. So I'm going to cut it out with my jigsaw, and then we'll cut some middle pieces and assemble it. So I'm going to attach the two sides of that cabinet, basically just using some scrap plywood, 2 at the bottom and two at the top, just to keep the spacing. And I'm using my Craig jig, and it occurs to me I've used it in other videos, but I've never really explained what it does. So Craig makes this jig. It's called a Pocket Hole Jig, and it basically makes holes at an angle into the ends of this, so you can use it to attach it. So I use it for a ton of cabinetry, really sort of handy, especially. I use it a lot for that. So you can adjust it for different size, and it's even got this dust port that I can use to hook up to my vacuum over there to help out with the dust. So I'm gonna kind of show you what I mean. I'll drill a couple holes and I'll show you kind of how it's gonna go in. So the screws go into those pockets like that and use it to attach it into the side of another board. So the drill bit's got this extra long tip in it that helps pre-drill, or does pre-drill, so you don't split the wood when you're putting the screw into it. It comes this square driver. Oops, that's the wrong screw. And you use these screws. They've got a sort of a grabber head on it. It's got a flat-edged head, so it helps hold the wood on. The kits don't come with this clamp, but you can buy them. They certainly make things a whole lot easier. It's almost, because the screws go in at a slight angle, the wood kind of moves around a bit, so this definitely helps keep everything snug. Cabinetry, you kind of want to be precise. There. Screw the driver. Whew. Quite lined up exactly where I want it though. There we go. Pantry Cabinet Carcass. The other thing I really like to do, as I kind of mentioned yesterday, the other video too, is I always like to put my drawer slides in during this construction phase, rather than trying to crawl inside the cabinet when it's all done, and then you don't have gravity on your side. And make jigs, I guess, to hold them, but I don't know, it just seems like a hassle. Seems like it's so much easier. You can just lay them down, lay them all out, screw them in right here, and then when I build the drawers, I just pull the other ones, pull the second half of these out and attach them to the drawers. But works so much better for me. So I'm going to use one slider for each connection, or each little section, I guess. So I just kind of laid out a mark here at 15 and 45 inches, and I'll draw a line and I'll lay my slider on top of that. The reason I put these dividers in here, I love these. These pretty nice sliders. They work really well as long as everything is square and lined up. If they don't line up or things are out of square, they get real finicky. So I expected this sort of plywood to move a little bit. So rather than do it one big whole thing, even with two different drawers, I want to make sure that this stayed sort of relatively square. So I'm going to put this 2 to 3 different shelves, I guess, and slide out in each section. Hope that makes sense. Hope it makes sense to me, actually. Ransacked the shop and cut up a bunch of basically just wood kicking around, and we've had a bunch of maple I've had kicking around for about 10 years, I guess. So I'm gonna make this a multiple variety species work of art. That way I don't have to buy new lumber. But these pieces are gonna go on right onto the rails like that and slide out, and then I'll have smaller pieces that'll go up and down the rails. But I want to cut a groove in the bottom of these here so that I can put shelf units in that. So I've got my table saw set up with a dado blade. I'm going to cut those grooves. Alright, I got the panels put together. I ripped up some shelves. I left some space in there just because I want some expansion room anyway. Cut some pieces going between. So now let's put it all together. Alright, take these little sliders off. Just lift that, lift up that little black lever. Slide these out. Doo-doo-doo. Now I'll put these sliders on there. I don't even have a face frame, so I don't know if I've mentioned this, so I kind of set this up there as an indicator. I like to put them in maybe a 1/16 of an inch in from the end, because if they're too far out they won't shut right, and if they're too far in just a little bit they still shut. So alright, so line that up at the bottom. Alright, so back here to this cabinet, the pantry cabinet. Did get it wrestled in there, so I ran out of batteries just as I was about to wrestle that in there. So but now we have a classical example of the idea of a design actually being better than its function. So let me show you what I mean. So the original plan was multiple shelves on this, that this would slide open, and this is going to be like a full-size door, or cover, or I don't know how we want to call it, exposed door. But you'd access it from the sides. And we saw a bunch of designs like that online. I thought that was pretty cool. But it doesn't sort of really work here, I guess. And so we tested it with some important things. We got cereal, gin, and beams. I mean, the most important things, really. And it really, where it's going to sit in our kitchen is you're going to have direct access from the front. So having the front covered, now that we think about it, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then if you tilt it sideways, you know, we kind of want it side so stuff doesn't fall out, but it's actually harder to access from the side. You know, in practical applications, I suppose you could make these a little bit shorter if we needed to, but I'm not sure if we really need everything to slide out. And then because the top of the wall of the bus is only 60 inches, it's kind of almost exactly eye height. And so I don't know if we really need to pull this out, so or have sliders here. So I think I might just put shelves in this thing and call it good. And then build doors, typical cabinet doors here, so that you can just open them and then you can pull it out if you need, especially since it's down low. You know, you can pull this out and at least reach that drawer. I don't know. So we're going to modify the design as we progress, like a lot of this project. So as is typical with Skoolie installation, we have all these obstacles. Just broke off the tip of my Craig jig drill bit. So, well, that's all right, I got a spare one, and then promptly broke that one off too, because evidently there was the other tip, I thought it was lodged in the wood, but no, it was lodged in the jig, so I broke that tip off too. So we have to modify my installation strategy. All right, since I didn't get pocket holes screwed in one of my shelves, I just cut some little piece of stock here that I had kicked around the shop. Again, some reinforcements of my pack rat mentality. Some of it, a bunch of stuff kicking around, and I'm just gonna glue it and use my pneumatic staple gun and staple this into the side, kind of like that, and then drop the shelf on it and staple that in place. So. All right, so just sort of placed that cabinet next to the refrigerator cabinet for now. And now we're going to work on the last one over here. We're going to put this propane furnace. Went down to the hardware store and got myself a new Craig jig drill bit so we can work on that last piece of cabinet and then hopefully get the face frame on there too. Not sure if we'll get to the doors today or not. All right, so moving from 3/4 stock like this into 1.5 inches. So we got little numbers. Oh, where are you? Oh, right there. Got little numbers marked into our Craig jig. So you put the drill bit there, and we're going to get this little collar at the top. Got this little collar at the top, and so you slide it so that we're at the mark for 1.5 inches. And tighten up the little set screw right there. Then this side, we also got little marks, and so we want to bring this up to 1.5 inches right there, and tighten that set screw. Now we're set up for 1.5 inches. Alright, we got the carcasses sort of all lined up here. Had to monkey around with electrical wire in the back and drill a hole for the gas line, which is kind of going to get in the way. I should have left myself more space, I think, for running lines like that, but too many details in my head to keep all on straight. So I'm going to line this all up, shim it as much as I can. We're not level ground, so it's always a challenge to level things here, so I'm just going to try to square it as much as I can and hope for the best. Alright, I cut up a bunch of scrap I had laying around, next to old barn boards that I'm going to use for the face frames on those cabinets. So I've got them all cut to length, and I'm going to drill my pocket holes in them. Okay, so we fit this face frame in, here. This corner cracked with that knot, so I think I'm just gonna glue that piece back in because I planed all this stuff. I don't think, actually this knot cracked too, but we're going for that rustic look anyway. And this is all the stuff I planed. I didn't plane in a whole bunch of extra stuff, so we're gonna have to make it work. So, I drilled pocket holes in on this side so I can screw this in here. And I think on this 2x, I could have done pocket holes, but I think I'm just gonna drill it in through the back. But let me put a little bead of glue back there anyway, just to kind of help out a little bit. Alright, so carcasses are done, I would say. Next is making drawers and doors, which I'm probably going to put off a little bit until we get more of the finished work, because inevitably you put that finished work on and then you fling a tool against it, or, well, don't usually get that frustrated with the process, although close, but yeah, you end up banging into them and it's just not really worth it to screw them up, so I'll probably wait until later. But this is what we got. This is where the refrigerator is going to go, right in this opening here. We've got 2 big drawers down below. The slide out drawers is the pantry that we redesigned in the process. It was the whole thing is going to slide out, but it didn't make sense, so just going to put shelves in there, and I'm going to put some facing here. And then the heater is going to go around this way because it needs to vent out that way. And then we've got drawers down here. I have to move that wire again. Move it closer in there. Alright, so that's how I build cabinet carcasses. So thanks for watching. I love using that pocket hole kit. I use it quite a bit for a lot of different things. So let me know if you have any questions. Sometimes I get work in and I forget the commentary, or I'm not sure what people know, what they don't know, or they need clarification, or maybe you want me to go faster. I don't know. But let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, I use this pocket hole jig for a ton of stuff, and so I'm most comfortable cabinet making doing that, and we'll do more once we get back into the kitchen. But thanks for watching. I certainly appreciate it. Subscribe, like, do all those things you do. I certainly appreciate you checking in on me and seeing how we're doing, and so I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.